Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radhamadava Kunjabi Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Radha
Jaya Radha Punjabi Jaya
Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balaji Mai Subhadra
Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra
Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Balagopal Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivradikacharya Ashtodra Satyashishimaras Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Petra Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their Most Merciful Lordship Shri Shri Harakunya Vihari Ki Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Mani Subhadra Ki Shri Ji Shri Balagopal Ki Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Nitai Go Premanand All glories to the assembled all glories to the assembled all glories to the assembled all glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Praishu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 14, is it? Oh, 15, okay. Text 15. Uh-oh. Here we go. Glasses again. Hare Krishna. While I'm cleaning my glasses, I'll share with you what I was saying in a class a couple of classes ago, how there are side benefits to this chanting the Maha Mantra that we don't necessarily realize immediately. And so this breath control takes place. We'll get into that after my glasses are cleaned out. Jagupsitam Dharma Krite. Oh boy. Usasata.
Anusata.
I'm gonna get these other glasses, they're better. You gotta be able to see the word. You never know. Okay.
Chapter 5, 15.
Jugupsitam Dharma Krite Nusasata. Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vyatikarama. Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vyatikrama. Yad Vakyato Dharma Ititara Stito. Yad Vakyato Dharma Ititara Stito. Na Manyate Tasya Nivaranam Jana. Na manyate tasya nivaranam jana. Yugupsitam dharma krite nusasata. Swabhava raktasya mahan vyatikrama. Yad vakyato dharma iti tarashtito. Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Jugupsitam dharma krite nusasata. Swabhava raktasya mahan vyatikrama. Yadvakyato dharma iti tarashtito. Namanyate tanya, namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Ishya.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nishasataha.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nishusata.
Swabhavaraktasya mahan vyatikramaha.
Swabhavaraktasya mahan yatikrama.
Yatyatyato dharma iti taraha stito.
Yadyatito dharma stito.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nusasata.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nusasata.
Sebhavat yakra tasya mahan vyatikrama.
Swabhavaraktasya mahan yatikrama.
Yadvakyato dharma idrastito.
Yadrakto dharma iti tarashtito.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Jugupsitam, verily condemned. Dharma krite, for the matter of religion. Unasasata, instruction. Swabhavaraktasya, naturally inclined. Maha, great. Yatikrama, unreasonable. Yat bhakyata, under whose instruction. Dharma, religion. Iti, it is thus. Itara, the people in general. Shtita, fixed. Na, do not. Manyate, think. Tapasya, tasya, of that. Nivarana, prohibition. Jana, they. Jiguptitam dharma krite nasasata. Swabhavaraktasya mahan vyatikrama. Yadvakyato dharma iti tarashtito. Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned, and it's quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Please repeat. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion,
in the name of religion,
and will hardly care for prohibitions.
and will hardly care for prohibitions.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way, in the name of religion. This is verily condemned, and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion, and will hardly care for prohibitions. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vyasadeva's compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performances of fruitive activities, as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literature, is condemned herewith by Srila Narad. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. They have no sense of the responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home. To revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 8,400,000 is an imprisoned life for the conditioned souls. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life. And as such, the only occupation of the human being is to reestablish his lost relationship with God. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. Such diversion of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc. And his encouragement in sense enjoyment, in some form or other, is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, sacrificing animals in the name of the fire sacrifice, yajna, were too much rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authority of the Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. This was first seen by Narad, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh-eaters will continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discharge flesh eating. But gradually, the purpose of such religious activity is forgotten, and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish, materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites. In the Vedas, it is directly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by Jai Shishirakan Javyat, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Mahisubhadra, Jai Shishirakan. The perfection of life is to have the curtains open. Perfection of In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth, or even by increasing the population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporeal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life. In histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in the Mahabharata. The whole idea of Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. The compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narad, who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not at all take. In the Bhagavad Gita is also said that a man attached to fruit of work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional line need not be always so advised. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshusha Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I've been preaching a lot about the kingdom of heaven being established on earth, right? And we can see that in and of itself, it wouldn't mean that people change their consciousness. So this could be transformed into a heavenly planet, and people would still have the mentality it is for them to enjoy. Just like Hawaii is. And in a sense, you see partial in the world, partially, what the conditions of a heavenly planet would be, right? You go to Florida, you pick fruit if you're hungry, and it's always 75, 78 degrees, cool breeze blowing once in a while. Rain at night, a little misty rain comes. Everything is what you would think to be perfect, wonderful. The aromas in the air of coconuts and fresh fruits and everything like that is also so fragrant and wonderful, an experience for consciousness. But, again, I was talking about the side effects of Krishna consciousness because we don't concentrate on the side effects for the reason being why we are chanting. We're not chanting for the side effects, but they do come automatically, which is the glory of it. The glory of Krishna consciousness itself. All these things in previous ages that were required by the souls who took part, for example, in fire sacrifices and meditation. They did this for thousands of meditation was taken part in for 10,000 years of a person's life. That was when they were reaching their stage of qualification, then to begin their life. So we have nothing like that in this age, nor the ability to even live a tenth. Yet we have people on the planet claiming to know the oldest person alive. You ever seen that? He's 120 years old. Yeah. Here we have Narad Muni, still around, and was here at present when the causal ocean was being churned. Can you imagine that? See, there had to be witnesses in order for there to be the story to be revealed to future generations, right? So this is how Krishna is also acting as a witness of his own events, of the things that he did. In the form of Kurma, we see the turtle. So this stage of development, gradual development that we see in the species, before all the jivas entered into those forms, Krishna in perfection revealed those forms. So now, the realization I'm getting, one of the side effects of Krishna consciousness, we see in the amazing life of Dhruva Maharaj that by adherence to the instructions Narad Muni himself gave to Dhruva Maharaj, and this that I'm telling you took place millions of years ago, Dhruva Maharaj, following his guru's instructions, first he was told to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I come to find that is one of Krishna's own most favorite chants, mantras. And by chanting that out for 3 days, though, he's a young boy, like 5 years old or so, young enough to sit in his father's lap, right? And he's chanting this mantra for 5 days. After that, he could see the demigods coming and leaving the planet. Woo! So, takes us 50 years of 2 hours a day of chanting to accumulate the amount of chanting he did. You know, in a matter of days. After he continued from there, then Narad Muni gave him mantra after mantra after mantra. And from the practice of that, he became independent of the need in this world for his existence here. Then he started eating leaves. Just was eating leaves. He'd eat a few leaves every day. Then he got down to where he didn't need the leaves anymore. He'd drink water. He got to where he didn't need the water so much anymore. Then he stopped, finding out he didn't even need to breathe. He didn't need to breathe. He took a breath like every 7 days or so, got to the point. Every 7 days or so. And he was still chanting his mantra. Think about it. What is Srila Prabhupada giving us to do? Chant a mantra. What happens when you chant this mantra? Okay. In the stage of my own personal development, I was seeing this mantra chanting as the perfection of pranayama, right? You take in a breath as deeply as you can, and then you let it out as slowly as you can. And wouldn't that be ultimately the most efficient economic use if you have a certain amount of breaths to breathe, right? You would use each and every one of them to the fullest extent. Krishna reveals that all that breath you spend chanting his name is not deducted from the amount of breath you have to continue your life. But when you come to a stage of development with this chanting, you come to find out you chant for this long, and in order to recoup the breath, it takes you that long. And after a while, it's in effect, you're not even breathing anymore. It's the equivalent of not even breathing. And what is only coming out of your mouth. I'm just recently now being able to understand why I couldn't keep up with Srila Prabhupada. You try and chant following Srila Prabhupada in his chanting, because he's not breathing in it either. That's the space that we can't keep up with Srila Prabhupada, is the amount of time it takes us to breathe. But there is a way to chant in which you don't have to stop to breathe. It's just amazing. And so now I'm getting the realization of the effects of that. But I didn't do it for that. See what happens when you are no longer dependent upon the air of this material world for your existence. You're speaking Krishna's name in place of that. So what is happening is the soul itself proper is able then to manifest itself in this world through the chanting of Krishna's name. You're drawing from that energy that the soul itself is. When you're no longer dependent on the oxygen for your continuance, you're dependent on the name of Krishna for that continuance, and it's sucking the soul into the world. I don't know how to put it any other way, but I feel like that's what's happening. And this is what Narad Muni is manifesting. I don't know that his body came out of Brahma. So Brahma's body is sound. So it's not made the same way our bodies are, right? But our bodies are changing at every moment. We know that scientifically, right? What is to say that it can't be transformed into that substance that will be of a longer lasting nature than would normally be ascribed to it being able to be? Just like I was saying with extinction, when people say there is an extinct category, species of life, in effect they are saying we have the ability to see every single inch of the earth, and we have looked, and when our eyes have been opened at that every moment to know in every space that that creature cannot be there. And this is just ridiculous, right? So the same way to say, we know that the oldest person alive is 125 years old, or 130 years old, the oldest person ever lived. Well, in the Bible, if they go even to Methuselah, 969 or something. And so we see from Bhagavatam, they're getting a limited picture. But according to time and circumstance, people have dumped on them a value of lifespan that they couldn't accept. Already what God is able to give people, they still can't accept. No, that can't be true. Those are all just old stories made up for kids to hear. You know. This is what is looked at basically by these histories of the Greeks, the history of the Huns, the history of the Persians, the history. These all had stories about God. All of these civilizations now being looked at it as particular groups of people having their own religions only to rely upon, thinking themselves to be far superior to every other religion that ever existed, and believing this is all false ego. And it so clouds the soul from being able to know the truth, which Srila Prabhupada is bringing out here. Human form is for self-realization. Because that way we know the substance of God, we know the substance of Krishna, which this chanting is giving us also, because it is non-different from that same substance. So to think, in our minds probably is the doubt, how can I live off of the name of God? So the doubt comes because we are so illusioned by the fact that we have been so conditioned by the amount of lifetimes we have spent. Everything in this world is dependent upon the air, isn't it? Our experience. And in every life we've had, more than likely, has been the same. But now to be told that actually God himself, through his name, can bring us to a point where we're totally dependent on him to the extent that we don't need anything else. Just the sound of his name. Can you imagine that? That's what my eyes are being opened up to realize, to see. Because Dhruva Maharaj was brought to that state. Krishna was so pleased with Dhruva Maharaj's sacrifice, the sacrifice of his breath, basically is what it was. And that's what this Maha Mantra is. Krishna was so sad, he gave him his own planet. Not only giving him his own planet that will not even be dissolved at the dissolution of the entire universe. That's how dear. Can you imagine? And he asked for that. He asked Krishna, please, he wanted a kingdom better than his father's because his father rejected him and he was feeling as a child of love. He wanted to feel with his father on his father's lap. And Krishna, being that ultimate father of all, knowing the love of a child's heart for his father, looked upon blessed little Dhruva's acts so favorably. He gave him his own planet in this universe that will not be dissolved. At the time, Lord Shiva danced, Krishna himself in the form of Lord Shiva. He's going to dance a dance that's going to make it all burn up. And we have the lifespan that will be. So all the living entities that are in the universe at that time will be reabsorbed into the body of Mahavishnu. And they are all dependent upon the continuance of their existence on the things in this material universe. But see, the natural state of being to the souls in the spiritual world, they live off of Satchidananda. They are Satchidananda. Everything there is Satchidananda. See, we have no idea whatsoever. Satchidananda, the touch of which is fully satisfying. This is how these trees, Kalpavriksha trees, they're described as being. Srila Prabhupada said, here, one tree can provide one kind of fruit. But there, every tree can provide any kind of fruit. Wish, desire, fulfilling trees. Kalpavriksha trees. In Vrindavan, where the 6 Goswamis were, where their samadhis are now, but they were performing bhajans, there are to this day Kalpavriksha trees still there, which I had the great privilege of being able to ask for freedom from sex desire. These are the kinds of things to ask a Kalpavriksha tree. See, if we can become free from the desires we have formed in our minds that we think we need, is what has gotten us into this mess. We think we need external indulgence to enjoy, external indulgence to experience pleasure. But we're made of a substance to know it. We wouldn't be contained in these bodies. be back there again. The soul is more powerful than billions of suns. Billions of suns. Can you imagine? We are living in a microscopic, I keep saying this in classes, we're living in a microscopic place. Like frogs in a well who've never seen the ocean. This is our condition. So Bhagavatam is giving us the knowledge, even though we're like little frogs. We have the ability to communicate with the Supreme. And by this knowledge, we're seeing that the activities the devotee is being asked to engage in is that which will give us total liberty and freedom. Freedom from the pull that the material energy has upon us, even as souls, as indestructible, a force that the soul is. Still, it can be illusioned by just a form, a figure, and made to direct its whole life according to the desire it has to see that figure more and more and more, and associate with that figure of a woman, or a figure of a man. That is its opposite. It makes it feel as though now it's complete. But we are already complete. Ishopanishad. From Krishna, who is a complete, in and of himself, from whose body everything comes, everything that comes from his body is a complete whole in and of itself as well. I agree. And so this is the form we came out as, from Krishna's body. But because of the desire we had to be Krishna, to be the enjoyer, he puts us in that form of his own name inside of his body, coming out then in the sound vibration of his name into Brahma's body. By wanting to be the enjoyer, he puts us in that form. By wanting to be, what's the yogis? The yogis meditating on the Om, the vibration. That Om is a vibrational sound that is vibrating at the same vibration. The earth is vibrating also. The universe is vibrating at a certain frequency. That is the frequency created by Om when we chant Om, right? Yogis wanting to become one with that vibration, then Krishna grants them that. But all that Om frequency is a part of this material external energy of Krishna. The Om is his external energy. And the Mahamantra of his name and his internal energy, which is Bhakti, in the form of Hare, they are two different energies altogether. The external energy that we have gotten ourselves involved with by wanting to enjoy it ourselves, that is the nature of the external energy, and it's illusory. It looks enjoyable. It looks enjoyable. But the act and the desire to want to use it for enjoyment is the cause of our finding it doesn't enjoy, it doesn't bring enjoyment. Because the soul will only know enjoyment by knowing itself. By knowing the substance, the nature of Krishna's own breath, which we are. The soul is the breath of God. The soul is the breath of Krishna's name that he gave into Brahma. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, we can remember that part and parcel of that energy of Krishna that Bhakti is. That's where we came from. We are the Bhakti of Krishna, in effect. We are the Bhakti of Krishna. Think about that. Satchidananda is Krishna's energy, which we are. So when we engage in these activities, we're doing what we are. You are what you're doing, in effect. when you engage in bhakti, and bhakti will give you the realization of itself, and that also is eternal. But the material world is not eternal. So when you engage in bhakti, you have a different consciousness as well towards the act that you're engaging in, while you're engaging in it. While you're engaging in an act for the, performance of some activity that will give you some material reward, a few bucks, a new pot to cook with, a new car to drive, a new house, whatever it is, the thought, the consciousness that you have towards the end result of that activity will very much determine your experience of the consciousness, what that consciousness will be when you obtain the result of that. So if you want a new car, you get the smell, you get the wearing away of it gradually. But the bhakti increases gradually, see? So the reward of bhakti is bhakti. Think about it. You want to do service for Krishna, the reward of that service is more Krishna, more service, more seva. But it is of a much more elevated nature than that, because every time you engage in it, the perfection of it in your mind is being developed. Your mind's ability to concentrate on Krishna, your body's ability to be able to put the elements together that you are working with to produce this that is going to be called the work of art that you've created, whether it's cooking or putting some woodwork together, making a chair, making a dais, painting a painting, painting the walls, but whatever you're doing. Every day, the act you perform towards Krishna, for the furtherance of Krishna consciousness, you will become more and more perfect in that. And if we develop love, love is increasing, ever increasing. Coming from Shrimati Radharani for Krishna, coming from Krishna in the form of Shrimati Radharani. Love is Shrimati Radharani. Krishna's love is Shrimati Radharani. Radha's love is Krishna. And it's ever increasing at every moment. But we're not experiencing it because we're thinking of other things. When, in fact, who ties us up? We do our own tying up of ourselves by entangling ourselves in the things other than what will provide for us that experience of total bliss. So in effect, we make ourselves slaves to what should be an experience of freedom, then becomes the cause of our slavery. If I want to enjoy, and that's my only desire, then the end of that will be suffering. If I want to please Krishna, automatically enjoyment will come in the process itself even. It not have to be looked at as an end, but it's an eternal pleasure, happiness with Krishna. Serving Krishna is eternal, continuing after this life even. Not dependent upon the body, could be suffering pain while the soul is experiencing bliss. Think of that as an ironic kind of opposite thing that one would think is possible. But one can take the pain and pleasure they get as a part of the experience of Krishna consciousness as that which leads them and draws them closer to Krishna. So if we have pleasure, then we can be thankful to Krishna for it. If we have pain, we can be thankful to Krishna for it, that he allows us to realize what we're doing wrong. Because pain can be used in that way. But in many senses, as children of Krishna, we could say, we're spoiled children. Spoiled little brats. Here we are, get to do what we want, basically. I don't know, I do whatever I want. But I've developed a desire to only want to do those things in Krishna consciousness, and the service is so glorious. And I'm up on the altar. Here I am singing to God, you know. Wow, I never thought I'd be able to do that face to face with God and sing. And then in my heart be thinking, Krishna, please help me sing this, you know, favorably so that you could find some pleasure in it. And I never in my life thought I'd be able to be this, you know, having this opportunity to serve on the altar like that, going on there 2-3 times a day, and then cooking for God. Who can do that? We all have to eat. So if we don't hire somebody else to cook for us, we have to cook. And what to speak, then we get to choose our own food and choose the best. Choose that which we would offer to God as part of that which we are preparing as food, which also gains the benefit by having been offered to God, then thereafter getting an elevated birth. Even these, see how many eggplant seeds there are in one eggplant. And yet every one of those seeds gets a more elevated place because it was used to please Krishna like we are being used to please Krishna. Offered on his plate. A means for a devotee to take part in acts that are directly related to the Supreme Person. We were thinking the other day, and Adiraj was, you know, actually quite sternly rebuking Amataji. How come you're using so many plates? You know, she was taking cups and plates, making them really nice, you know, making a serving for people instead of them being just in a big glob, a big bowl. Everybody has a serving. She was putting it out nicely. I thought, wow, that's really nice. It cleans everything up. There's no drips. People have to, you know, serve themselves. And two, you know, it may have been looked at, yeah, he's talking about economic. He was like that when he was temple president also, you know. Don't take more plates than you need and like that. But every one of those plates is made from a tree, which is a living being, which is a soul that is facilitating the human consumption of prasadam. How can you engage a tree in transcendental activity? Cut it down and make it into a cup and then serve prasadam in it. And that's what's happening. So from one perspective, the more cups you use, the more trees get, because the next cup probably wasn't from the same tree, the way they're making them, you know. Every plate is a different tree. And they're all getting the benefit of having taken part in serving prasadam. Just imagine. See how Krishna, this is Krishna's kindness. He goes out of his way to make the jivas able to become more elevated than what they were in by somehow connecting with him. Anyway, by hook or by crook. If you drop a drop of water on Lord Shiva, somehow, maybe you're a monkey in a tree, he will give you benefit for that. Krishna's kindness is that he's looking for ways to give other living beings some benefit. We should see like that too. You know? To a great extent, a lot of times, we think these laws puts God in a position to just wait for us to break them and then he can clobber us, you know. But he's actually love. He's love. Everything is made from the loving thoughts of Krishna's own mind. And every time you see Krishna revealing his mind in Bhagavatam, it's revealing of how he is thinking beneficial towards the other living entities he's approaching. How can I free this person? How can I give them benefit? That's Krishna. And if we can see like that, we will be so attached to Krishna. We never want to leave Krishna. We never want to think, you know, wrongly of Krishna. And then we'll get to that stage of friend of God. This is Narad Muni. Look at Narad Muni's friendship with Krishna. He gives orders to Krishna in the form of Vedavyas, and then he takes orders from Krishna in the form of his own personal form. He's got knowledge coming in and out. saturated with love of God, ultimately, Narad Muni. And just giving that. You see, every interaction he has with human beings is to promote Krishna's activities somehow and give them knowledge of Krishna. We have that personal guidance here on the altar as well. The Narada Pancharatrik is all about how to worship on the altar, to get the consciousness we're working towards. And it comes automatically by using the mantras he gives, just like he gave them to Dhruva Maharaj, just like Lord Chaitanya is giving Maha Mantra to us. Yeah. This movement is so wonderful. It's such an answer to all prayers of all the saintly people. And they will all be gathered together by the force of this purity of Krishna's name. It's going to cause all the loving people in the world to be one loving people, knowing Krishna and singing Krishna's holy names. On every corner of every city, in every nation, will be the dancing and the singing and the glorification of Krishna's holy name. There's a Christian song that says, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. They don't know, 60 million times brighter than the sun, the soul is. We've no less days to sing God praise than when we first begun. But see, they don't know the eternal song. They think that's the eternal song. But we have the name that is the eternal song to cling to for an eternity, Krishna. So, any comments? Any questions?
Question. What are the qualifications for going on the altar?
Yeah, you keep regulative principles. After 6 months, you get second initiation, Brahminical initiation, and then you're qualified.
Really?
Yeah. Krishna gives you a name that, by realization of the name, you realize your eternal relationship to him. That's what the name helps us to do. Because we are, whatever name of Krishna we get, we are Krishna Das, servant of. But that enables us to see, just like I was speaking the other day about the Garbhasam Samskars, when a child chooses a picture of Krishna when it's put in front of him, as compared to wanting to choose a toy that might represent his military arts or another toy that might represent another craft. Crafts of the mercantile class. He's revealing his heart's desires. And so when he reaches for Krishna, that child is special. And we've got to do everything we can to make them full bloom. That's what we want. That's what the Bible says. Mother Earth is waiting, like a mother waiting to give birth, till the sons and daughters of God can be fully manifest. There's deep meanings in these statements being made about God himself saying things and the earth having feelings towards humanity. There's very deep philosophical conclusions that can be drawn. Just like in every verse here, there are very deep. Renunciation is not something that's very easy. It appears for civilization as a whole. For civilization as a whole to appreciate, because it seems to be, renunciation seems to be a degradation of human experience, right? We deny ourselves the things we think we need. But in fact, we are not going to be brought to the place where we can know that God is everything we need unless we deprive ourselves of everything else. And that's what the chanting enables us to do. You just get in a solitary place, nothing else. And then as that name of Krishna becomes more and more sweet to your consciousness, you come to find out he is actually already everything. And he is the power. And he has put in his names every bit of power he has. Lord Chaitanya's Shikshastakam reveals that. He's invested all of his transcendental energies in me. That's amazing, isn't it? When you think about it. Any realization, any comment? Does that work?
Yeah.
John. Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai, Gurudev, Ki Jai.